Hey everyone, glad you're back. So today in this video, I would like to go over a few things for making a comic book. So before we get started, my name is David Gerard. I am the co-creator behind this comic book here called Ed Kills the Dead. I'm like 6 books in now, but it's a continued series. And I've been doing this for just about 4 years now, and it's been a lot of work, but it's been very exciting and very fun. And especially if you keep at it and keep going, you'd be surprised what comes your way when you put in the work. So, with that said, I just wanted to kind of go back a few years ago before I started. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes right now. I get a lot of people asking me, how do you start and how do you go about making a comic? I get all these questions about like how to begin making a comic book, and I know it's hard. Starting is really the hardest part. And when you watch everybody out there who makes products and basically creates things, starting is really the hardest part because your mind is consumed with everything you have to do, and you're basically you gotta tone down your thoughts to one thing at a time. And that's really what I had to train my mind, is kind of tackling things one thing at a time. Like, it's very easy to think about everything all at once. So when you go, oh, I got an idea. Oh, I got to make the story. Oh, I got to design the characters. And then you're thinking of like, well, how am I going to make this look? And what's the cover going to look like? And then, oh, now I got to think about printing. Your brain is going a million miles an hour. And honestly, I get it. Like, I was there. Like 10 years ago, I've been wanting to make a comic book, and it just took me until 4 years ago till I finally did it. And I'll be honest, it's not easy. As an artist, I totally get it. And for anybody who has a degree, has the talent, but really is just struggling to just not knowing where to start, I totally understand. It's really not easy. And it takes a lot of patience, a lot of willpower, and basically discipline to put in the work and keep going. And it's just like you're not stopping. To break it down, you gotta ask yourself one simple question. You gotta go, okay, is this what I wanna really do? And do I have a story that's inspiring enough to make me want to finish a whole book? Because a lot of people will start a book, but they don't finish it just because they lose interest in their own idea. So if you lose interest in your own idea, who else is going to be interested in it? Basically, like, you got to ask yourself, like, is this story worth telling? And you can't compare to anybody else. Like, honestly, that'll kill your motivation, is when you start comparing to everybody. You go, oh, well, this guy draws better than me, or that guy, can just do better. So, like, I'm not good enough. There's that I'm not good enough mentality going on in your head, and you gotta kill that. Like, you gotta like literally ask yourself, like, is this story or this idea gonna be compelling enough to grab people's attention? And I'm not telling you your idea is going to be worse. Like, if you look out there, there's a lot of things that we don't like. There's things that we love. We're all critics here. And there's things that we prefer over other things. And then there's people that like other stuff that we don't care for. There's content for everybody. So really, I'm convinced that everybody's got an idea, that there's a market for that idea that you have. And you just have to do it, because you'd be surprised by the people who would be into your idea. It might not be for the guy next door. It might not be for your best friend. Like, I have best friends who don't even buy my books. They're not even interested in zombies. It doesn't mean I don't like them. It just means that's just not for them. I don't market my stuff for everybody. I market it for basically people who love my content. And that's basically how you got to look at it. And you got to approach the right like when you go on Facebook and you go into Comic Cons, and you gotta really market yourself towards the right people, because that's how you break it down. It's like you gotta find the people out there who are gonna love your stuff. And honestly, word of mouth goes a long way, because I talk to people about my stuff, and I've had the sweetest old ladies buy my books for their grandkids because they like zombies. Or, you talk to some guy who's into construction, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I like zombies," and then next thing you know, he buys your book. You'd be surprised. Like, don't just judge people for, if some clean cut looking guy looks like he's a lawyer, you'd be surprised what he likes. You don't know what he likes. Like, talk to people, you'd be surprised what they like. So basically, it all breaks down to, like, just think of a cool idea, and if you're convinced it's good, just do it. And basically, there's a market out there for anything. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention, is just stop worrying about too much stuff, and just kind of break down your thoughts into one thing at a time. And then going back to the beginning, I had to train my mind to think slower and not so fast, because honestly, I've been in your shoes, and for anybody who wants to start a book, it's really not easy, especially comic books and stuff. Like, it's time consuming, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of work. So I totally get it, man. And you got to take it, you got to really break it down in a simple way that helps you motivate you get started. So what I told myself is, what helped me was, I had a client of mine before that approached me and said, "Oh, I don't want to get into all that, but if you have a client or somebody who approaches you, they have a budget, and you're going, okay, there's your motivation. You're going to get paid to do a comic book from somebody who's interested in an idea, and they'll either pitch it to you, or either whether it's an idea you have. But what helped me is, I had a client approach me. It was a set budget, and then she told me what she wanted, and then we worked from there. And then that helped me establish a routine. So from there, you gotta, like, kind of tell yourself, okay, I gotta create a vision for this. So you gotta break it down into, like, okay, what's your title? What's your characters? You gotta break it down to who's gonna be your villain, who's gonna be your character, and figure out a good plot point. And, like, honestly, you don't have to make it complicated. Just make a simple story, but something intriguing enough that'll captivate the readers. And it might take a week, 2 weeks. It literally does not happen overnight, and everybody knows this stuff. Like, I don't need to explain how long it takes. Ideas don't just come to you when you wish it to. It literally, it'll happen when you're in the middle of working, or while you're having fun. You're literally gonna go think of something and, like, oh wow, that's so cool. But you gotta make a mental note of these things. You gotta remember. And what I do that helps is, I carry a little notepad and I'll write down little notes. I'll basically get an idea while I'm at work, or even while I'm driving somewhere. You just go in your thoughts, and you think of things, and then you're like, oh man, this would be so cool. And then you think of something, so you go, okay, I'm gonna make a mental note. And then when I get home, you basically make your notes. And an artist is an artist. They draw, they don't write. Me, what helped me was doing thumbnails. So I had to draw out thumbnails to kind of compose my story, because for years I struggled with, like, writing a script. That's not my forte. I don't particularly like writing scripts, and I never actually wrote a script for my comics. There you go, I just said it. So I'm not a script writer, and I know this. I studied animation, I studied visual mediums. That's how I learned, and I broke it down into thumbnailing my work. So when it came to making my comic book, I had to make thumbnails. So I kind of told myself, okay, this is what I want on the cover. My first page is going to open up with this scene. So you kind of start drawing your thumbnails. And honestly, thumbnails takes minutes. You don't have to take 2 hours to make a nice drawing. Get your ideas on paper before you get to that stage. So you got to really think of your thumbnails So if that works for you, do it like that, but do what works for you. Because I see artists like struggling with like, oh well, I can't write. I'm not a writer. I'm an artist. I like to draw. But me, it's like my visual medium was what pushed me to get that story across. So it's like you draw it out. And then once you get that across, by the time you go do your final pages, you scan them, you put them in Photoshop, yeah. And then at that point, it makes it easier to write your story because you're basically going in there. And then I do my editing on Photoshop. And that's kind of like how I write my comic books. It starts from images down to the writing. But I already have my story in mind because I fleshed it out in thumbnails. It's, if you watch Disney animation, that's like the process they use. And that's what worked for me because that's how I studied making a story, was by a visual means. So if that helps for you, I would suggest that. So try that out, see if that works. But honestly, think of your story in pictures. Because comic books, let's face it, it's pictures. People don't buy a comic because they know the story. They buy it because they love the cover, and then all of a sudden they open it and they go, wow, and they love the artwork. Like, I bet you 90% of the people out there who collect comic books, it's because of the artwork. So make your art stand out and then make a good story, and then you'd be surprised what you can come up with. Like, that's literally how it happens. Because it's a visual medium. People love comics for the artwork. And push yourself, challenge yourself, try drawing things that are hard because that's what makes you better. If you stick too much to like I'm telling you, when it comes to comic books, don't be afraid to use references because a lot of artists do that. Google search whatever you need to draw and draw it, but manipulate that image into your comic. Don't, like, you gotta play around with references because that's how things look real in comic books. It's from references. You can't tell me to draw, like, you know, a certain vehicle from my mind because it doesn't work like that. You need visual reference, but try to incorporate it in such a way where it conveys well on a page. And then compose your page. Like, the rest, you could kind of figure it out from there, but like I'm telling you right now, when you start from your thumbnails, that takes minutes. If you kind of somewhat have your idea in mind, I'm telling you right now, just go sit there while you watch a movie. You're relaxing. If you're not doing anything, literally have a sketchbook in front of you and do your thumbnails. Like, take the time out of your day that you have while you're not busy and use it to create stuff. Like, make your notes, do your thumbnails, and then day by day, you're gonna see that you're gonna build a library of ideas, and like all of a sudden you're gonna kind of like mash it together, and you'd be surprised how your story will start fleshing out. Because day by day, the more you add, it just comes together. It's really just sticking it out. And you gotta discipline yourself. Like, you come home, I know you have your dinner, you go for your walks, you do whatever you need to do, your errands. The moment you sit down and you relax, use that time to create stuff. That's what I do. I use that time productively, create stuff, and basically take advantage of that time because you only have so much time in a day. And the more you sit on it, the days, the weeks, the years go by, it's just prolonging that time. So you really want to break it down. Jump on it as quick as possible, get in on it, and then when it comes to printing and all that stuff, don't even think about that yet. Just, if you're a if you want to make a comic book, start from your ideas to your pages and then work your story out. Because, like, you don't want to think about marketing, printing. Like, that should be the last thing you think about. You want to think about your story first and making it good before you jump into something like that's not even, you're not even, like, don't think of the finishing line if you haven't started, basically. So try to simplify your thoughts into making your story, putting it on paper, put your notes down, your like your dialogue, anything that comes to mind from your ideas, you need to get it on paper, because the moment you go back and you skim through your pages and you see that all come out, like you're gonna start seeing this come to life. And it just takes a rough sketch, and then once you get that down on paper, then like just kind of sit there and then go back, and then you can jump to the next process of like doing your final pages. Like get yourself a nice big sketchbook, some good paper, some good pencils, some good markers. A lot of people are getting into like digital stuff, so whether you're using Procreate or if you want to be traditional like me, just drawing on paper, because that's what I like the control of my pencil going on paper and like moving, manipulating the sketchbook so I can get those lines I want to get down. I just find it easier. That's how I am. I'm old school. I like traditional art, and surprisingly in this day and age you'd be surprised how many people respect you for being traditional, because a lot of people surprisingly love traditional comics versus AI stuff. And it's going around. Like everybody seems to be going back to the way how things were made. There's so much more respect there. Like people, as much as we love that AR art, people still love people like us who create and draw and like are visionaries and just kind of make ideas out of nothing. Like that's like people love that stuff. So don't feel like you have to be a digital artist or anything. Like you need to just relax and go, okay, I can do this, and just take it one day at a time. That's literally all you got to do. And you'd be surprised where it could take you. And in the 4 or 5 years of making comic books, I've had the pleasure of meeting some pretty high people in the industry, and it's been fun. Like I've gotten prints autographed by people I would have never thought I would have met before. Like it's amazing who you meet once you get in that journey. It's fun and it's exciting, but be sure of what you want. If you're a story writer, get into storytelling. If you're an artist, get into drawing comic books. You got to know what you want before you start. Just be sure about that before you get into that process, because it's a frustrating, it's like you can't train somebody who likes one thing and doing them, like making them do something else. They're not going to want to enjoy that. You got to make sure you enjoy what you're doing. And for me, I like drawing and I like horror and supernatural stuff. That's just what I grew up loving, and it's just you got to find something that inspires you to, because the inspiration is what's going to drive you. So be sure of what you love before you go do it, and you'd be surprised how much you can get done. So once you establish your book, you make your book, then you can start thinking about printing, how many pages you're going to do, and like so on and so forth. And then if you need to find an editor, and there's a few things that entails into making a complete book. But honestly, think about that after you make your story, because you want to focus on that before you think about all the other stuff. Because I'm telling you, when you think too much about all that stuff, it literally stops you and it paralyzes you from starting. That's literally where the struggle is when people start. It's just thinking one thing at a time. Take one day at a time. One day, focus on one thing. The next day, focus on something else. And just take it step by step, and then you'd be surprised how far it could take you. So I just wanted to give that advice for anybody out there who wants to make a comic book, and hopefully they get something out of this video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and like and follow me, and take care. Bye.